Good. So I know that everybody has, oh, the clicker's out here, thanks. Uh, I know everybody's had really hard time in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. And at every level, from engineers to owners to various people working in the entertainment industry, have really gone through a lot of pain. And how do we move forward from here? I think what we should do right now is, I'm sure we all had enough of time to introspect, think what we are doing, figure out what we are doing with our lives, how volatile our industry is, what problems we are facing. And I just devised, something that I thought that resonated with me at a time like this. And the first thing that I had a question, or you can say I have a thought process about what is the only thing that is constant. Does anybody know this? Very good. So the only thing that's constant is change. However, who should be that change? Right? That change should be you. The only person who can make that differentiator is you and you yourself. Nobody else. And why has this happened is because when you see any company that has probably pivoted or probably changed his profession or done something different during lockdowns, it is because an individual took a decision. It is because somebody decided that I need to change first. You cannot wait for people to help you or situations to help you. We had even leading companies like, you can see Mr. Santana, who's out here. He started a pathology lab, and that's really amazing. Meaning, for a person who's been in the technical business all his life, his family has been in the business, he started a pathology lab. And he understood that parallel revenues and parallel income is very important at a time like this. And even for me, I never even imagined I would do things other than sound. I made the hashtag sound guy for life. Right now, I sound like a hypocrite, because I'm AV guy for life, or I'm doing healthcare. Or so I think it's really important that we get out of that zone where this is what I do and this is all I do. We have to keep ourselves open to the world. And who is our support system, right? Our support system's up here. Our ability to make that change. So I think you all must have all seen the Western, The Good, Bad and the Ugly. I kind of formulated my presentation today as the good, the bad and the ugly. And I think this is a very important thing that you have to understand. Okay? What can you control? And why I put your cash flow right up there is because today, the most important thing about your business is going to be that. Not what kit you have, not how many warehouses you have, not how many followers you have on social media. And when they say, you look at a rental company's cable box and you can tell what the company is like. Today, it is if you look at a rental company's balance sheet, you will know what the company is like. And the day each and every one of you change this, you will understand how important it is. We all came from that world, right? I have 12 pairs. I have 16 pairs. I have 80 motors. You know what? Nobody gives a damn post-COVID. Nobody gives a damn. and definitely not your family members. What's most important is money in the bank. And that ability to make the next month, it is sacrosanct. To me, I only start buying equipment on the 18th of the month. The first week goes in paying my TDS. The, sec- the second week goes in PF, ESIC, PF and PT. And the third week goes in paying my GST. And of course my salaries. And only the last 2 weeks I will decide what I am going to buy based on my cash flow. And it is a discipline that has started only post-COVID. So if COVID taught me anything, COVID taught me to hold my horses. COVID taught me not to be emotional about decisions and to take business decisions, to take real decisions. Today, probably half of you guys may not be having to pay these taxes, but one day you will. And learn this and make it a discipline. So, even when you are taking debt or you're taking a loan, you should have at least 25% of that loan in the bank. And nobody at any forum or I don't think anybody in Palm has ever discussed about money. We always discuss about what we've achieved, what gigs we've done, how big we are, whether we did Shankar Ehsan Loy or we did Salim Suleiman or we did this gig or that gig. You know what? Nobody cares. But what people do care about is their own ship and what concerns them. And that got nothing to do with your warehouse or your kit. So please keep this in mind. What is the next most expensive thing? Is your investment in gear. You know how easily we take a decision on what we want to buy. And what is our attitude about procurement? We take an average of visiting engineers telling us that, you should buy this console or this radio mic or this in-ear monitor, correct? And every time they visit us, I'm talking about regional companies, I'm talking about mid-sized companies, I'm even talking about large companies, they get a consensus of what we should buy. As well as we have manufacturers shoving things down our throat, right? Did you do your own research? Or you use somebody else's barometer to make a decision? Did you see what your projection is before you decided to do what you're going to do? I think that is the most important thing. So when I come for trade fairs, when I go for a NAM show, when I go for a Frankfurt show, I do not look at the gear. You guys must be shocked, right? I do not care what's on the booth. I am not even looking or touching that console or standing next to it and taking a bloody photograph. I want to know that manufacturer, is he financially stable? Is he going to get bought over? I'm finding out from friends, colleagues, I'm going for the Digico parties, I'm going for the Adamson parties, I'm finding out from people who own Adamson rigs, Digico rigs, L-acoustic rigs, DNB rigs, and the stories that I get about the brands is what I'm going for. I know exactly what I want to buy, so why should I even go there, right? If you knew you wanted to buy that Nike pair of shoes and you saw it out there, you'll just go there and buy it, right? You don't need to turn and twist, and you know exactly what you want, right? But this is the information I am looking for. When I invest in gear, I invest in even the company that I am buying. How many people are there in R&D? How financially stable? Because everything that you want to buy is around $2 million, $2.5 million. And if that company goes bust and they can't give you spares or support you or give you service, what's going to happen? It's happening with European companies. It's happening with the iconic companies. They are going bust. You're buying their motors. You're buying 40 of their motors. You're not getting their motor spares. You're not getting Dante cards. You're not getting chips. Your equipment is lying there like a pile of dumb metal. And you know why? Because the car companies have more money than us. And I'll come to that. And your last thing is your ability to retain your staff. I think that this is a very overestimated thing. Owners always think that there is no problem until the guy decides to leave. So you're always telling your staff what he should do, how he should behave, how he should conduct himself, right? And the day he leaves, either he does not tell you anything, or he leaves telling you everything that he did not like. So why can't that conversation happen before he is leaving? I am not talking about giving people more money. I am talking about conversations. Conversations. When I speak to my staff, I'm the last person to talk. And we do like a circular meeting, and people are like, you talk, you talk, you talk, you talk, and then I will talk last. So maybe that's helped. Maybe I've taken a consensus. I've had an average of people working with me for a decade. So anybody who's worked with me in my organization has worked with me for at least 10 years. So I think in a way, yes, I'm on that right path, because it's very important you're listening to people, both owners and both even staff. I do not like people who never told you anything, and on the day they decided to leave, they said everything. Or they went away without saying it, and then the reason why they left, 20 other people know it but you. It's like if you don't address the problem with your girlfriend then or your wife, then you're never going to know what's the problem at home every day. So I'm not talking about money at all. I'm talking about conversations. We never talk. I love to talk to probably even the guy who's loading my gear. Everything's fine. So I started like this, right? Everything's fine at home. So I get him around. I don't say, are you having any issue on show? Are you getting your production cash? I don't even have that conversation. I first start, how's everything at home? What are your kids doing? The moment you get a bit personal, then he's ready to open up to you. Okay? So it's important that you understand even the human dynamics. And nobody's perfect. I have employed amazing people. They have left me for better careers. They've left me because they've had a problem. And the most important thing post-COVID is to ensure that there is no toxic environment amongst the staff. Because if even there's one guy, he's like a bad apple and he's going to destroy your organization. And you know what? We keep them. We keep them because they are so good at doing that one thing. They are so good at doing that one thing that we live with it. But you know what? Eventually we are going to sack them. So you might as well have sacked them probably 7 months earlier than later. So I'm smiling about the bad rather than what you cannot control. right? Everybody knows the second. And I know a lot of people didn't even know what quarantine meant, okay? And when I say market dynamics, everything that's happening in the global market right now, you're going to see this effect for the next 1 year. And I'm not a financial advisor, and I can't tell you what's going to happen. But this is a very, very important thing you need to look into. Now, why do I talk about weather and global warming? And why is it bad? Every piece of your equipment is getting affected every day from the moment it walks into your warehouse because of weather. All the life cycle of your components, your amps, your transistors, your consoles, the FPGA processors, they are being affected by moisture. They are affected by temperature. And you know that most problems actually happen is because your equipment has been much hotter than what it should be. So you see always it's overheating. All these equipment were never designed to work in such heat and so much of humidity. So the life cycle of equipment in India specifically is bad, one because of humidity, heat, and the second is because of dirt and dust. How many of you guys have horrible faders? If you go to North America, Europe, you don't have that problem with faders in your consoles like you have in India. In India, your faders have to be changed at least once a year. And if it's a high duty cycle, when I mean duty cycle means the consoles being used often, you will see that you'd be even changing the faders twice a year. Even the rubbers of the motorized faders, right? Why do they get damaged? Because of heat, humidity, moisture. So, obviously these are all hidden costs. And today, any major console worth its metal, it's 37 faders. And if you multiply that by 4,000 rupees a fader, you can know that it's over 1 lakh only to replace the faders of your console, which is never accounted for. It's like changing your tires of your car. You change your tires only after 2.5, 3 years, right? That's not the case with rock and roll consoles. Okay? And the political scenario. Now look at what is happening. My heart is going out to my friends in Sri Lanka, in Pakistan. How are those guys surviving? And you know, as much as we hated our current government, the best thing they did was not print money in lockdown. Because we would be in the same problem that they have today. So when you walk into there and somebody is giving you things for free, there is a problem. When somebody is giving you taxes less, there is a problem. When somebody is having elections and saying we'll give you 3,000 rupees for every household, that government is a problem. Because if the country does not have money, that US dollar today, which is 79 rupees, will become 100 rupees. And that console will become unaffordable. It is very important that you get nothing for free. Very important. So, if you understand this basic fundamental, I know all of us, we bitch about the government. We all bitch about our situation. We all talk filth, but we are the first people to not declare something or pay less tax or not pay GST or take something in a personal account. And the day or much more people do this, and then even we don't have enough money for defense, then we can't even protect our borders. And why I say this, because I think of things holistically. I don't look at things in isolation. It's not about me and my industry and what I do. Okay? So always, I'll tell you one thing, be careful of that guy who's giving you things for free in the audio industry and in life. Because it is not free. You will pay a price for it. And that price will be something that you will not be able to manage. And you can see that Sri Lanka is a classic example of that. Can you imagine they don't have money to pay for diesel? How can the trucks even reach the venue? How can a show happen? How your entertainment industry will be completely destroyed. And if you have a loan and you're paying interest, that's the end of you. So these are the couple of things I wanted to talk about, what you cannot control. Do any of you all know what is the increase of freight of containers coming from China? It is minimum 35%. And that too in only certain scenarios, but normally the freight has nearly doubled. So if the freight doubles, the cost of your product increases, the duty increases because the duty is the freight plus the cost of the product. And why? Because you have an oil price increase. If I have to send a truck to Delhi, I used to normally pay around 90,000 rupees for one truck container vehicle to go up and down Delhi. So if I have to do the same show in Delhi today, it's 1,30,000. And you know promoters do not want to pay you that extra cost. They always tell you about what they paid last year for the same thing, which means increases your taxes, increases your freight, your transport, your air tickets, your hotel stay. If any of you guys were trying to get hotels 1 month ago because of IPL, you wouldn't even get a room in a 5-star hotel for less than 12,000 rupees a night. So everything that you will see is a problem. And it's only happened post-COVID, right? And the electronics component shortage, this is the biggest problem that our industry is facing today. The biggest, and it is not going to improve for 2 years. So even if you want a console, it's probably back ordered for the next 7 months. You want a particular product, you have to wait for 3 months, 4 months. So some people know how to handle this. So I'll tell you a story about a company called Clay Brothers. Do you all know this company called Clay Brothers? Right? They are the largest company in the world. They buy equipment and they do the biggest tours. They've been doing the biggest tours since 1950s. From a Beatles concert to a Simon and Garfunkel till today. So what they're doing, because they cannot get 10 Digico consoles or 4 Avid consoles or 80 L-Acoustics boxes, they are buying companies. They are finding companies that are probably not financially well off and they are buying the entire company, and it is cheaper for them to buy the company, so they get the entire kit, they get all the racks and stacks, and they are not paying the 35, 40 and 50% incremental price or waiting for 7 months or 8 months for the gear to come. So now why did they do that? Because of the first thing I mentioned to all of you all, cash flow. They had the cash to buy these companies. And they had the work. So even if you see in hardcore Punjabi, Marwari, Gujarati families, you know what is the core of their business? Orders and money in the bank. What did I say? Orders and money in the bank. Don't ever forget that. Without that, you can't do anything. Then you're just opening your mouth. So, for me, in my personal capacity, I do not care today how much kit I have. I don't care what brand I have. I don't care about anything. I care only about my orders, my money in the bank, and my crew. That's it. Everything else is a pile of dumb metal. When I work on AR Rahman's tours, I work on a GSL PA, a K1, a K2, a Leo, a Leopard, a Adamson rig, a E15, a E12. How does it matter? I am loudspeaker agnostic. I am not, I don't, like people ask me, what do you think about the brand you own? I say, it does not matter. What matters is what my customer thinks about the end result. My customer books me because of sound.com's promise of delivery, not what loudspeaker I own. So, haven't you noticed this thing that whenever people buy a brand new sound system, what is the one thing that they do? They wear that t-shirt, correct? And everybody in the company is fighting to wear that t-shirt. It's on their visiting cards. You go to their office, there are boards of their products, Digico, L Acoustics, DNB. You will never see that in my organization. The one thing I have taught my staff from day one, you have to be more proud of wearing a sound.com shirt than a Adamson shirt or a Digico shirt. And don't ever forget that. So we don't get any calls. I don't have any requests from my staff saying that I want a Waves t-shirt or I want, if they got it, they got it, you know. So you got to understand that, anyway, I was diversing from what I was just talking about. Electronics component shortage, I can tell you, even the audio companies are not that rich enough to get their parts on time. Aerospace, government, car companies, they have more money than audio companies or lighting companies or video companies. And they will get the chips first. Means you are going to wait much longer. You are not in the pecking order. So, if you do have a product that you have in mind, I can tell you it is better if you have the cash flow, buy it now. Do not procrastinate, because if you do not take it, you are not going to get it for the next 4 months. So if you have a idea of, and you should also have a contingency. So today, if I want to buy a loudspeaker system, I'm also going to find out who else would be interested in my system if I can afford it. When the time the order comes to be paid. So this is something that you can build a relationship with your dealership, right? Because your dealer can help you there. So globally, the current tour that I am on in July and August, we are paying a rental price nearly the buy price of both the consoles. Just to hire those two consoles, because there is no console available in North America. And I am settling for a double-loaded 12-inch PA because I'm not getting a double-loaded 15-inch PA. But obviously, I'm using a larger number of boxes. And this is because tours are now getting advanced 5 months in advance, 6 months in advance, rather than 3 months and 2 months in advance. So this is going to happen in India also very soon. If you do not book my kit on a certain day, you can be whoever you are, you're not going to get it. So these problems are going to become even bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's very important you invest in unicorn standard equipment. It's very important that your equipment does not fail, because if you have a problem with a part, like for example, ordinate is a big problem. If any Dante related product goes down on you, please wait for 5 months. And it's because those manufacturers, ironically, they invested in a particular kind of chipset and those factories had gone down on them. So some guys are lucky. Some guys have more money, so they secure the parts. Because they've already designed these products. You cannot change it. Okay? So these are the very serious problems that our industry is going to face. And the ugly. How do you change? Right? Now, when I say familiarizing selves with merging technologies, I can tell you guys 2 years ago, I knew nothing about video. Nothing. I had no clue. So I got down to the level of deep learning. And what do you mean by deep learning? If you want to learn a new subject, you have to completely cop out. You cannot be distracted. So I started learning about video. I started learning about technologies about video, about streaming and streaming technologies and virtual technologies. And then what I realized that everything was coming together because they all are interdependent on each other. Audio, lighting, video, you know. And taking IT very seriously. We are today transporting audio over IP and IT. We are transporting video. We are transporting practically everything, control over IT. So knowing your 192.168.0.1 today is far much more important than knowing that little tweak on the console. Like guys ask me like, oh, do you know that you can do this on the console? I just say, no, I don't know. I don't need to know. But I know how the bass guitar should sound. And why do I say that is because, you know, the best engineers in the world, they are not running Pro Tools, their assistant is. Go to any recording studio and he probably even does not know how to use Pro Tools. But he knows exactly when he hears the cymbal or the timpani or the triangle or the snare, whether it's right or it's wrong. And that's what you need to know, right? I do not know everything about virtual. I am not working on Epic Games. I'm not working on, any of the softwares. There are people who are doing that. There are developers. But if I look at it, I can tell you how close it is to real life. How is it translating well? How is it looking? So it's not important that you know everything. So when I say merging technologies is that you holistically need to understand. I hired TP-Link's applications manager as my IT guy, right? But I learn from him and he learns from me. Because he only knows IT, but I know the audio that's passing in that IT. He knows about probably packet data loss, but I know what is the video signal bandwidth that's required to make sure that there's no packet data loss. So we have to work with each other. Be your IT guy, be your audio guy. That's why I say merging technologies today is very important. And investing in people. Investing people is not about money, it's not about pay packet, it's about the promise of the fact that they feel secure working for you. And how does that happen? Is that I don't want to draw any kind of, I'm just giving you an example that, like, for example, because we went into merging technologies, we started paying our staff a full salary in the October of the first lockdown. Till this date. So our staff felt very secure working with us because they knew We can metamorphosize, we can change. Tomorrow we do this, day after we do that, but we will keep the show on the road. So when I say investing in people is that you rally them. You learn about video, you learn this, read this book, do that, you know. Not just the fact that mentorship is a very important thing. It's not about take this money. Now, for example, the guy who's sitting here, Vishal, he is an audio guy. He's only doing video right now. He's only doing cinematography. He takes care of all my cameras. And it's like he, in his life, also never thought that he'd be able to do something like that. And watching an eye on the business changing globally, I think, you know, anything that you see that happens in Europe or North America, we start following them 5 years later, 6 years later, 7 years later. Watch what these guys are doing. Because ultimately, your aspiration is to buy the products that they are owning. Why did we go flown systems ultimately? Why did we go line arrays? It all started in these markets. We are still an emerging market for them. We are not going to make loudspeaker products or amplification or consoles or we are not going to even buy that kind of quantity that they buy. Like one rental company would probably buy more gear than probably 30 rental companies in India together. So we have to understand the scale that's happening there. So what are merging technologies, right? All of you guys know this, but I have put IT here. I cannot survive in the current market if I don't understand IT seriously. When I'm working in a building, if I'm working in the JWC center, I'm plugging into their infrastructure. And everything there is being transported on IT. There's no XLR input there. It goes straight Dante. So if I want to play some music in their foyer, my console's Dante out has to send the signal to them. If I want to receive video or send video from one room to another room, there is no SDI cable. So if any of you guys are in the audio business here, do all your 3 levels of Dante. If anybody is in video, learn NDI extremely well. If you're an AV guys, learn both. Do an IT course. Because the XLR will be replaced by the Cat6 cable. The SDI cable, the HDMI cable will be replaced by a Cat6e cable. And it'll happen sooner than later. Now, this slide is specifically to the audio industry itself. How many of you guys know that the Department of Communication is going to take everything from 600 to 900 out of the spectrum? And if you guys have wireless microphones, and you'll have probably 16 channels, all those 16 channels will be redundant once the spectrum is sold. And it may probably become illegal to even use it. Like how a police frequency, right? You cannot use it, right? So, you know, they say it's like how Brexit has happened, or how Ethereum is going into 2.0. Oh, they say it's going to happen, but it happened one day. And the day it happens, your lives are going to change. Because if you only have 100 megahertz to pack 56 wireless channels without any intermodulation distortion, without any interference, and if you're in a multi-room where in this room there's something else happening, in that room something, and there's wireless channels happening, you are going to suffer. So it's like you're going into New York and you're not getting even 4 frequencies for wireless. That's going to happen in India. And if you want to replace the board, it's all board driven, right? So your wireless is actually useless. You have to, if you replace the board, it's 85% the price of the wireless system. Because you have to replace it on the transmitter, you have to replace it on the receiver. So my advice to all of you, if you're buying anything in wireless, 400 to 550. That's all you've got. And I think UHF is 450 to 550. That's all you've got, guys. That's all you've got. And you have to pack everything in that. And if you don't, I can guarantee you, imagine from 450 to 900, how much of spectrum you have to put one mic here, one mic here, one mic here. Now if you just have 100 megahertz, that's it. You will struggle even with 12 mics. So then anything you go to buy today, if it's a serious manufacturer, you're going to pay 25% more. By the time you're going to pay more because of the chip shortage, the cost increase, the freight cost, and the duty. And some specific things like loudspeakers, duty also increased in this fiscal year. So, and health and safety. I am doing a show right now that's happening on the 5th, but the COVID test starts from tomorrow. And every 3 days, my staff has to be tested. So even if they're doing a job and they are probably in Ahmedabad right now, they have to go to the local testing center, get themselves tested, send the report. So if you guys are not vaccinated, if you guys don't have your booster shot, I would suggest that ensure that your employees and everybody is also, they have their shots, have it in PDF, have it in JPEG, have it on your phone, have it on WhatsApp. Make these workflows easy. And that's really what I had to say today, guys. If you have any questions, thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much, Warren, sir.
Most welcome.
Anyone would like to ask any questions? No? I would now call upon Mr. Anil Chopra, Founding Director of Palm Expo, to felicitate Mr. Warren with the token of appreciation. Thank you everyone present here. We shall gather back at 2:30 for a session by EMA on future of events and works. Okay, thank you.